Phil, thanks for joining us here nice and early on Worldwide Exchange. $40 oil. Okay, if I told you on the way down we'd hit 40, people would say that's a disaster. The fact that we're not at zero makes people a little bit more optimistic, I guess. Where do you stand? How does $40 oil play out through the stocks that you cover?
Yeah. Hey, Brian. Good morning. Thanks for having me. Sorry I didn't get to see you on set this year since we had to do the conference virtually. But it was a record attendance at the event. If you think about the oil price right now, I still think $40 oil for this sector is a big challenge. If you take into account the capex required to invest in these businesses, the dividends that my integrated oil companies have, I still think they need $50 oil in general to cover their dividends. And so a $40 environment is not one where they can grow their crude production.
Are there any companies that have the balance sheet, have the cash, have the access to credit, that if oil stays around these levels for a year or 2 years, are going to make it?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, if you look at my coverage group, Chevron, ConocoPhillips, they have best-in-class balance sheets. They're going to be sub 2x leverage this year. And they can, I mean, Chevron on their earnings call noted that at $30 oil, they would not even go above their AA leverage targets at $30 oil, just paying the dividend off the balance sheet for the next 2 years. So yes, there are companies that can survive this environment, but there are many that would struggle as well.
Now, these companies like a Chevron, I know you've also got an overweight on ConocoPhillips, Phil. Sometimes crisis brings opportunity, and there will be weaker players that, as you've sort of intimated, may fall by the wayside. Do you expect consolidation anytime soon, or is it still kind of a wait and see game?
No, it's a great question. I mean, I think consolidation is an opportunity for the sector in the long term. I think the acquirers would have actually preferred pressure on the stock prices for longer than what we've seen, to your point that you made initially. Share prices have bounced back, and especially for the E&P companies as well. So the bid-ask spreads are difficult to make transactions work. That was common feedback at the conference. But I do think in the long run, consolidation in this sector makes sense.
Now, you highlighted Chevron. What are some of your other best ideas? If some of our viewers, Phil, do want to step into this world, which has been largely cast aside, as you know, and thrown away by institutions and individual investors, but if they're willing to step in, what are some of the best ideas right now?
Yeah, Brian, actually, we prefer the refiners at this point over the majors. We think the refiners are cheaper from a valuation perspective and also have similarly strong balance sheets. Two companies we like are Phillips 66 and Valero. Our top pick is Phillips 66. If you look at PSX, they're essentially an integrated oil company without the upstream. And so to your point, the oil price environment, $30, $40 oil is very challenging. You don't have to deal with that as much with Phillips 66. You have the downstream chemicals, very stable midstream business. We think that that could be a core energy holding in anybody's portfolio.
Wow, Phil, what do they do that others don't? What makes them different?
Right, so they have a lot of stability in their EBITDA profile. The midstream business, the marketing business, actually retail trends have been surprisingly strong, with retail margins holding up better than expected. And so if you look at this company, they spun out from ConocoPhillips in 2012. Over that time, they've really built up the midstream business, which has a stable source of cash flow. So they still have the volatile refining business, but with much more stable EBITDA coming from the other businesses over time. I think that their trough earnings will prove to be much better than people would expect.
All right, so your best ideas right now, Phillips 66, Chevron, ConocoPhillips?
Yeah, so if I were to rank order it, I'd say Phillips 66 number one, Valero number two, and then probably tied for third would be Chevron and ConocoPhillips.